Hey guys, my name's Christian. I'm a first year PA student currently in my second semester of PA school. I did a post on this on Instagram, but a lot of you guys are still asking me to do a YouTube video on it. I guess to go into a little more detail about what I do. It's definitely a process in studying for PA school. I changed my study tactics a little bit. I feel like I had a pretty good hang on everything. I have a little bit of a unique situation. I've been a student in college for about 7 years now. When I'm done, it'll be about 8 years. So I've gone through community college, a junior college, and now a actual university. So I have a lot of diverse experience, and I've definitely tailored my study habits over those 7 years to be the most efficient that I possibly could be, because I don't want to have to study 24/7 like some students do in PA school. So let's get into that, and I'll see you guys there. Alright, so the camera hopefully doesn't die on me. I have no indicator of when it does die on me, so I'll probably end up talking this whole time and it'll be dead. Anyway, when I'm studying for PA school, I try to pay attention in class. It gets a little more difficult when you get into the second semester. I don't know about the third semester yet. I assume it's about the same, because you have 2 or 3 exams every single week, whereas in the first semester, and again, it could be different for each program, in the first semester, everything's more spaced out. You might have 1 exam every week, or you might have a week off. So you're able to focus during class. You should obviously focus during class, but you're kind of preoccupied whether you're actually studying or thinking about the exam that you have later that week or later that day. Now, so obviously focus as much as you could when you're learning it, and while you're in class, don't focus so much on memorizing it, but try to understand the process so that later when you go back and you look at it, you already have an understanding of it and you're not completely lost because you paid attention. And sometimes what the teachers say, so, some people do just read off the slides, but others actually make sense of what they're going over. I'm just going to make sure the camera is good. So yeah, pay attention as much as you can in class. Take notes on what the teacher says. Most programs, from what I have heard, again, you have to kind of gauge what your program is like. Ask students, especially from the year before you, to get an idea of what teachers kind of say, things that will be on the exam, or if teachers take questions from the book. My program only takes questions from the PowerPoint. So we all know to study entirely off the PowerPoint and we'll be fine. So get a grip on what you are going to be tested on exactly. Now, after class, when I don't have too much going on, I try to go home that day and review whatever we went over that day. Now again, when it gets later in the semester, or if you have a busy week, when you have 2 or 3 exams every week, that's not really a possibility. So what I will do is focus that day. I'll make a weekly schedule of whatever exams I have, and then leading up to that, I'll be studying for that exam. So definitely you have to make a specific plan. And I find that if I just say, okay, I'm going to study patho and pharm this day, everything's just such a mess. And I did this during the summer, and I was just, during finals, I did worse on finals than I did during the beginning of the semester by far, because I was very poor at my planning was okay, but I wasn't specific enough with my plan. So what happened was, I said we had, you have 7 exams during finals. So I said I'm going to study lab med, physiology, anatomy, these 3 exams in one day. And all of a sudden I spent the whole day studying micro and I didn't study the other stuff. So you have to create specific time slots. Say I'm going to study lab med from 8 in the morning to 10 in the morning. And then I'm going to study microbiology from 10 to 1. You have to give yourself specific time limits, or else you're just going to be going back and forth and back and forth. And you allow yourself to make a schedule that's based off of what you think is going to be most efficient, rather than what you're feeling most stressed about in the moment. Because I could not focus to study lab med when I had microbiology in the back of my mind, and I ended up not doing well in either one of them because I was just back and forth and back and forth. So make yourself a specific timed studying plan. It will be huge for your productivity and efficiency. We're going to take a minute to have a word from our sponsor, Advanced eClinical Training. Since we were talking about gaining patient care experience, and I talked about it in the past, I know it's a big issue for a lot of people, especially with the pandemic going on. So I wanted to talk about Advanced eClinical Training Certified Clinical Medical Assistant Program. So if you're not familiar with what a certified medical assistant does, they're involved in many specialties in the medical field, primarily physician offices, where they help out in small procedures like blood draws, different small kind of surgical operations, different things like that. So there's a lot of opportunity available to work as a medical assistant, and Advanced eClinical Training has one of the best programs that I have seen. It is completely online. It's an 8-week program, but it is self-paced. There's no deadlines for anything, so it's not like regular college, and there's nothing in person. Even when you finish after the 8 weeks, you take a national certification exam that is online, and then you can work as a medical assistant within as fast as 8 weeks. And there's currently 100% money back guarantee, so if there's anything you don't like about the course, you can get your money back in full. Additionally, there's other packages available where you can have additional add-ons such as more interactive classes and one-on-one instructors, so there's a lot of opportunity there. If you're interested, the link is in the description below. It should automatically apply the discount code. If it doesn't, you could use the code Christian, CHRISTIAN 100, and you'll get $100 off. So I hope you guys check that out, and let's get back to the video. So besides the PowerPoint, what I'll do is for things like clinical medicine, EKG, pathophysiology, things like that where there's specific diseases that have their own characteristics that you have to be able to differentiate with other diseases or anything along those lines. Again, EKGs, memorizing what is involved in a junctional rhythm or an atrial rhythm. I'll make what's called a key notes, either a Word document or a notebook, and it'll just say, it won't say literally everything about the disease, but it'll say how is it differentiated from other things and what are the key terms, because there's always going to be key terms. So for the biggest thing I could think of, which is huge for boards for the pants, is CML, chronic lymphocytic leukemia, is associated with the Philadelphia chromosome. That's something that would definitely be in there, highlighted, starred, blue highlighted. So I use a yellow highlighter then a blue highlighter for the things that I definitely want to pay attention to. Use different colors. Do this in your PowerPoints as well. Highlight stuff that's important, put it in red. Have layers of things, so like this is somewhat important, this is very important, this I absolutely have to memorize. Put different layers in things to emphasize certain things, because you're not going to learn everything. You're just not going to learn everything. You have to know what is important from that information and what will possibly be on the exam and what will possibly be on boards, because it's the same way when you're seeing a patient. There's a lot of stuff that they'll tell you that is not relevant. I mean, I'm not being mean about it. It's in any conversation, there's a lot of things that you'll hear that are not important. What makes a good provider is recognizing what's important and what you're told and what's in the patient's history and what the patient presents with. So that's exactly what you're preparing yourself for when you're studying like this way in PA. So it's about the process that's going through when you're in class and then after class, and making a plan for studying. The next thing is, how do I actually study? So for most classes, what I'll do is take notes on the PowerPoint. If you have a tablet, this is a lot easier to do. You just write everything out. You would do this during class though. You could also take notes while you're studying just to make sense of everything. And now this is the point where you're trying to learn to memorize everything. So if you could use mnemonics, if you could make stories up. We made stories up for the farm adverse drug reactions. So based off of the name, we would give it. Natalizumab. We made a story about a girl named Natalie who had a mean boyfriend, so mean meningitis. He was toxic, kidney nephrotoxicity. So you kind of make a story out of everything, and that makes it a lot easier to remember. Especially things that are just completely random and there's no basis behind them. There is, but you don't want to have to learn all the scientific method of action behind pharmacology and the names that go behind them. So for classes like that where there's no rhyme or reason for why something is the way it is, you could just memorize it based on a story. As far as the name goes, you obviously have to memorize the MOA as well. So yeah, when you're first going over it, I try to take notes just to help memorize. Like I said, I just go through the PowerPoint over and over. And what I do while I'm going through the PowerPoint, because I'm not the type of person that could just go through it over and over and over again and looking at the exact same stuff, because I don't feel like I'm being productive. When I feel like I have a slide memorized, and one of the students from the previous year told me to do this, and it was huge to help me. When I'm going through the slides, you could hide slides on Microsoft PowerPoint. So you right-click the slide on the left, and then you could hide. He recommended deleting the slide, but when I go right before an exam, I like to look at everything because there's normally stuff I missed. So if I deleted those slides, I couldn't look at them. But I'll try to study a PowerPoint set maybe 2 to 4 times, or probably more actually. And every time I go through it, I'm able to do that because I maybe only have 5 to 15 slides. And by the time I get to the exam, I might only have 2 or 3 slides that I have to look at. So definitely, narrow it down to what you have to focus on, and make sure that you actually have it memorized before you hide it or delete it.